Have you ever noticed something strange? The people who lie, manipulate, and use others often seem surrounded by loyalty, while the genuinely good person ends up disappointed, abandoned, or betrayed. And if you've been betrayed before, there's a painful possibility you may not want to hear. It wasn't because you were weak. It wasn't because you weren't good enough. It may have happened because you were too available, too forgiving, too predictable. And the worst part? Most good men never realize this until years later, after the damage is already done. Because betrayal rarely comes from enemies. It comes from people you trusted, people you defended, people you sacrificed for. But why? Why do good men get betrayed so often? And what is it that most people completely fail to understand about human nature? The answer is uncomfortable. But once you see it, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Because there's one psychological truth hiding beneath almost every betrayal, and almost nobody talks about it. Think about your own life. Maybe you gave someone endless chances. Maybe you supported them during their hardest moments. Maybe you stayed loyal when everyone else left. And yet somehow, they were the ones who hurt you. Strange, isn't it? You expected gratitude. You expected loyalty. You expected respect. Instead, you got disappointment. Why does this happen? Because most people misunderstand goodness. They believe being good means being endlessly accommodating, always understanding, always available, always forgiving. But here's where things become dangerous. Many people don't respect what costs them nothing. Let that sink in. If someone knows they can betray you and still keep your loyalty, what incentive do they have to change? And that's the trap many good men fall into. But before we go deeper, consider this. What if betrayal isn't always about your value? What if it's revealing something about theirs? We'll come back to that in a moment. A few years ago, imagine a man named Daniel. Daniel was the kind of person everyone liked. Reliable, kind, generous. Whenever someone needed help, he showed up. Whenever someone made a mistake, he forgave them. Whenever conflict appeared, he avoided it. People called him a good man, and they were right, at least partially. But something kept happening. Friends borrowed money and never returned it. Partners took his affection for granted. Co-workers used his effort to advance themselves. Again and again. The same pattern, the same disappointment, the same betrayal. Daniel couldn't understand it. After all, he was doing everything right. Or so he thought. Then one day something happened that changed everything. But it wasn't the betrayal itself. It was what he noticed afterward. And this realization would completely transform how he saw human relationships. Here's what most people never notice. Human beings are deeply influenced by perceived value, not actual value, perceived value. And the two are often very different. Psychologists have observed something fascinating. People naturally pay more attention to what appears scarce, what feels limited, what seems difficult to obtain. This tendency affects relationships too. When your attention is unlimited, your forgiveness is unlimited, your availability is unlimited, many people unconsciously begin treating those things as ordinary. Not because they're evil, because the human brain adapts, and adaptation changes perception. But here's where things get even more interesting. The ancient Stoics understood this long before modern psychology existed. They knew that respect begins with self-respect, not approval, not popularity, self-respect. And that's exactly what Daniel was missing. Not kindness, boundaries. There's a difference, a massive difference. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. Imagine that for a moment. The most powerful man in the known world. Yet even he experienced betrayal, political betrayal, personal betrayal, military betrayal. Why? Because status does not eliminate human nature, and neither does kindness. Marcus learned something many people never learn. You cannot control another person's character. You can only control your own response. Simple, but incredibly difficult. Because when betrayal happens, the mind immediately asks, why did they do this? Why me? What did I do wrong? And sometimes that's the wrong question. Sometimes the better question is, what did this reveal? Because betrayal often exposes truths that loyalty hides, and that's the part nobody talks about. Modern neuroscience gives us another clue. The brain is constantly seeking rewards. Dopamine drives attention, motivation, desire, novelty. Many people become addicted to emotional rewards, attention, validation, control, power, approval. Now imagine someone receives these rewards from you continuously, without earning them, without accountability, without consequences. What happens? The brain begins expecting them. What was once appreciated becomes assumed, and what is assumed is rarely valued. This doesn't excuse betrayal, but it helps explain why it happens. The psychology is uncomfortable, yet understanding it protects you. Because if you don't understand the game, you'll keep blaming yourself. And that's exactly what many good men do. But Daniel's story wasn't over. In fact, this is where everything changed. One day after another painful betrayal, he stopped chasing explanations. He stopped demanding apologies. He stopped trying to convince people to value him. Instead, he became silent, not angry, not bitter, just observant. And something unexpected happened. He began seeing people clearly. For the first time, the people who genuinely cared remained. The people who only benefited disappeared. And suddenly, years of confusion started making sense. Because distance reveals character much faster than closeness. Think about that. How many people in your life only appear when they need something? How many disappear when you stop giving? How many friendships survive when convenience ends? Those questions can be uncomfortable, but they reveal reality. And reality is where freedom begins. Here's another truth that many men discover too late. Being needed is not the same as being valued. Read that again. Being needed is not the same as being valued. Someone may need your money, need your attention, need your support, need your emotional energy, and still not value you. The distinction is crucial because countless good men spend years confusing dependency with respect. And when betrayal arrives, they're shocked. But the warning signs were there all along. The problem is that emotional attachment often blinds us. We see potential instead of patterns, promises instead of behavior, hope instead of reality. And that's where suffering begins. But there is an even deeper lesson hiding beneath all of this. The Stoics believe suffering often comes from expecting reality to be different than it is. Not because expectations are evil, because expectations create vulnerability when attached to things outside our control. Other people's loyalty, outside your control. Other people's honesty, outside your control. Other people's character, outside your control. Your standards, within your control. Your boundaries, within your control. Your response, within your control. This shift changes everything. Because the moment you stop demanding loyalty from everyone, you start paying attention to who naturally demonstrates it. And that's where wisdom begins. So what can you actually do? First, stop confusing kindness with self-sacrifice. You can be compassionate without becoming a doormat. You can forgive without re-entering harmful situations. You can care about people without carrying their responsibilities. Second, pay attention to patterns, not promises. Anyone can speak beautifully. Character appears in repeated actions, not words. Third, learn to tolerate disappointment. This sounds strange, but many people remain trapped because they fear losing others. The Stoics understood something powerful. When you're no longer afraid of losing the wrong people, you become impossible to manipulate, and that changes every relationship in your life. Fourth, protect your attention, your energy, your time. These are limited resources. Treat them accordingly, because people often respect what you respect and ignore what you casually give away. Now here's a question worth reflecting on. What betrayal changed you the most? Not the one that hurt the most, the one that taught you the most. Sometimes the greatest lessons arrive disguised as painful endings. Sometimes the people who disappoint us reveal truths we needed to see, and sometimes losing someone is what finally helps us find ourselves. Have you ever experienced that? When did you realize someone's presence in your life was costing more than it was giving? What truth about human nature did life teach you the hard way? Share that below. Someone reading your experience may need it more than you realize, because many people suffer through this silently, and a friend in your life may be going through it right now. Before we finish, remember this. Goodness is not weakness. Compassion is not weakness. Forgiveness is not weakness. But goodness without wisdom becomes vulnerability. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Forgiveness without discernment becomes permission. The Stoics never taught people to become cold. They taught people to become clear. Clear about human nature. Clear about expectations. Clear about what belongs within their control. And clear about who deserves access to their lives. Because betrayal does not define your worth. It reveals character, sometimes theirs, sometimes your own. The question is whether you're willing to learn from it. And perhaps that's the hardest lesson of all. Not everyone who enters your life deserves a permanent place in it. The moment you truly understand that, betrayal loses much of its power, and peace quietly begins to return. If you want timeless Stoic wisdom that helps you build a stronger mind in today's chaotic world, subscribe and follow the Stoic morality. And remember, a good man is not someone who gives everything away. A good man is someone who remains kind without abandoning himself.